what you really have in wage inequality is a race between technology on the one hand and education of the population on the other.
I'm just hoping my education and experience will beat the felony conviction.
High school is what matters, and it's right there where your decision says, are you going to have a future or not? So I decided to have one.
You hear it all the time. Our economy is the most dynamic in the world. Tonight, we take a closer look at change in the American workplace.
This is a special edition of Nightly Business Report, Work in Progress, with Washington Bureau Chief Darren Gersh. Nightly Business Report is made possible by...
I'm gonna miss you guys.
Congratulations.
Good luck, Gary.
Bye-bye, thanks.
Hi, Care Bear.
Leaving one job for another?
Hey, Gary.
Don't forget to take your nest egg. Objective financial advice can help you roll over your retirement money. A.G. Edwards, fully invested in our clients.
Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a unique perspective through the specialized investment expertise of Franklin Templeton Mutual Series and Fiduciary Trust. Franklin Templeton Investments, gain from our perspective. Additional funding provided by the National Association of Realtors.
Nightly Business Report is made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's an understatement to say that work in this country is constantly changing. Anyone who's rushed through an airport lately has seen evidence of that in the faces of the road warriors, constantly connected to their offices by cell phones and laptops, on call 24/7, trying to keep up in a fast-moving economy. Tonight, we'll take a closer look at 3 stories that illustrate how fast our jobs are changing, what we must do to get them, what we must do to keep them, and what we do to move ahead. We'll take you to California to visit a high school that's preparing the workforce of the future. And we'll visit Louisiana to learn how former prisoners make up a growing share of our labor force. But we'll begin here with what may be the most disruptive force in the workplace, technology. Almost everywhere you look at an airport these days, you'll find a computer somewhere is making your trip possible. The most obvious example is this, the airport kiosk. And that's where Maya Liebman comes in.
You can just see the plasma screens or the flat screens, LCDs.
She manages airport automation for American Airlines. How has this technology changed the jobs of the people we see over there? What do they do now that maybe they didn't do?
Well, what they're doing now is encountering a lot more of the less routine transactions. So they're getting much more proficient at doing complicated ticketing transactions and doing more complicated document checks. So they're becoming much more proficient at their job, whereas the really sort of mundane, routine transactions have all been moved out to the kiosk.
Sure.
MIT professor Frank Levy calls it the new division of labor. Levy's an expert on how computers are changing work. He visited Logan Airport with us to explain.
The key is, with a specific task, can that task be expressed in step-by-step rules? Because that's what computers do. They execute rules. Swipe that here, read the number, match it up with the database. Does this person have a reservation? That's the stuff computers excel at. If the answer is no, then say, see the desk agent. We have a problem.
Consider what the computer does when this Boy Scout troop shows up.
32 people going to Miami today?
Yes.
That's us.
And all 32 reservations are on the Scoutmaster's credit card.
We've got to go back to the gate, back to to an agent, I guess.
I am checked in. I just checked in self-service. 30 tickets on that located.
One bag?
Yes. Unlike a Boy Scout, the computer is never prepared. It simply can't deal with the unexpected. Computers flunk what Levy calls expert thinking.
Expert thinking is really just how do you solve problems that can't be expressed in rules?
Say a group of Boy Scouts on one reservation. Fortunately, there are a lot of complicated problems out there.
This is going to take a little bit.
Many of them created by technology itself. At American Airlines headquarters in Dallas, internet help has exploded tenfold. Kiosk programmers are up fourfold.
And along with the international check-in functionality, we're also deploying a new kiosk to support that.
The international kiosk?
The international kiosk.
Daniel Henry is in charge of programming all those airport kiosks. He's rolling out a new service, international check-in. Now, what kind of skills, the people who are working around here, what kind of skills do they have to have, and how much training do they have to have?
The people you see here are either our senior designers. They got to have 10 plus years of experience developing complicated systems. We also have our system developers. They have 8 plus years of Java experience. And also a wealth of experience solving complex problems.
Not everyone has the education and training to do that, which is why many analysts believe technology is polarizing labor markets. The signs are everywhere. Routine jobs where a high school degree and the ability to follow rules used to guarantee a good income are vanishing. The numbers of bank tellers, receptionists, and assembly line workers are declining, while expert thinking jobs, scientists, executives, lawyers, are growing. And along the way, so is wage inequality.
What you really have in wage inequality is a race between technology on the one hand and education of the population on the other. If technology pulls ahead, then you start seeing inequality grow. If education pulls ahead, then you see it start shrinking.
Levy's quick to add that computerization can't explain the huge growth in CEO salaries, but it does help explain what's happening to middle-class wages. The question going forward is whether even more middle-class jobs, including the analytical jobs, will be shipped overseas by computers via the internet. And here the answer gets complicated. American Airlines is considering offshoring right now, but it's not a simple matter of hiring the lowest bidder. American finds that developing software requires constant collaboration.
We're releasing every week. Our code is changing all the time. And what allows us to do that is I can go 4 feet away and talk to the person, touch them, saying, come test this, see if it works for me. That's more difficult when you're dealing with 12 time zones away. So we're evaluating to see what components we can do and what components do we keep here locally. And that's an evaluation we're going through right now, knowing at the end of the day that the application has to be high quality because of the mission critical nature of it.
So maybe the very simplest problems to solve might be easy to ship out to somebody who doesn't have a lot of skills?
Or there may be some component where we may offshore the ability to read a barcode, but the processing of it may stay over here.
Frank Levy says that's a critical distinction.
The problems that are most easily sent offshore are also the problems that are easiest to computerize, because it's the breaking down of a problem step by step that enables you to explain it to somebody else. If it's a really complicated problem, you can never be sure that the person on the other end of the wire understands what you're talking about.
This raises a big question, though. If computers make it easy to send the easy entry-level jobs overseas, how's anyone going to get the experience to become an expert thinker?
Now, that's a good question, and I think what you're beginning to see is that the economy is beginning to understand that if we really are going to maintain talent, we have to continue to grow our own. And so you can't just sort of take the lower end of stuff and send it offshore and then expect people to kind of move up through the system and be able to do the high-end stuff, because this is very experience-based learning that we're talking about.
And the tech baseline is constantly rising.
Yeah.
5-10 years from now, what kind of skills will you need to work at American Airlines?
We're using technology in every aspect of the company. There's not a single department that isn't touched by technology to some degree. And just being able to interact with that technology will require that people's skills are more comfortable with technology, that they're more able to provide customer service and interact with technology at the same time.
So computers will continue to eliminate the routine work while increasing the demand for those experts who do the difficult work of making computers simple enough for the rest of us to use. Tucked into the Louisiana countryside just north of Baton Rouge, you'll find Dixon Correctional Institute. The prison has 1,524 beds, and they're all full.
Most of you want to do the right thing.
For Warden James LeBlanc, repeat business is never a problem.
1 out of 2 of you are coming back to us, and that's something that we're trying to change.
For decades, it was understood prisoners in Louisiana would do their time and do it hard. But a stint as acting director overseeing the state's probation and parole department convinced LeBlanc that the old way of doing things was not making his state safer. Parole officers carried caseloads of 150 or more. There was no time to help ex-offenders find jobs. Inmates were leaving prison unprepared for free society, and half of them ended up coming back.
Our institutions go to great lengths in providing opportunities for the inmate populations. We do some good things with educational programs, vocational programs, substance abuse, character counts, parenting, all the things that we do, but then we tie a concrete block on them around their feet and drop them off in the ocean off the front gate.
At Dixon, LeBlanc piloted a new philosophy that has now spread to all Louisiana prisons. Every new inmate gets a re-entry accountability plan to prepare them to return to society. Those about to get out receive 100 hours of training in social skills and anger management. Louisiana prisons are also working on a program to release inmates with a resume, detailing the jobs and training received in prison. LeBlanc says most of the men here have never had many chances in life, and it makes sense to give them one now.
What do you want coming back to your community? Do you want a better person? Or do you want somebody that's been down 20 years doing hard time on the back of a hoe or a shovel and not doing anything productive or learning something different so they can be productive?
How many jobs would you see help?
To expand reentry efforts, prison officials also help identify prisoners eligible for outside programs like Louisiana Community Prisoner Reformation, or CPR.
For some of you who may not know this, I spent 20 years, 3 months, and 15 days in prison. That's right.
UC Long is the coordinator for Louisiana CPR. The program counselors help nonviolent, non-sex offenders find housing, transportation, and work. But UC warns it won't be easy returning to the violent streets of New Orleans.
Choices. One mistake can cost you the rest of your life, guys. When you get out of here, you think about that.
Edmund Fontaine has had a lot of time to think about life after prison. This is his 4th time behind bars. He knows finding work won't be easy, but he's never had a reentry program like this.
Coming out of the institution, I might as well be a legal alien, because of my arrest record and stuff, And most jobs now do criminal background checks. So that's another reason why I'm glad they got this program.
Congress wants to expand reentry efforts to cover more of the 650,000 men and women released from prison every year. A bipartisan group of lawmakers is pushing the Second Chance Act, which would provide up to $200 million for demonstration programs, mentoring, and workforce training by state and local governments. The economic stakes are high. The best estimate is that 7% of the adult workforce has served time behind bars. And for minorities, the figure may be closer to 30%. Joey Portera will be one of the first to go through the Louisiana CPR program. He was living the high life in the French Quarter, selling ecstasy. Now he has changed his priorities.
I got kids, I got a wife, I'm starting all over. I got to get some income as soon as possible so I can start getting my life back together. I'm just hoping my education and experience will beat the felony conviction. I worked pretty hard when I was in school, and I had a lot of good jobs, so I'm hoping these just felony convictions not gonna hold me back too much.
The national recidivism rate is 50%. And Joey Portera is about to test those odds. He gets out of prison tonight at 1 minute past midnight. First, he gets his street clothes.
I got some shorts and a white t-shirt, it looks like some shoes.
At 12:01, he signs his release package.
So a $10 check. Well, this is all your stuff right here. You're ready to go. You need your ID to get out the gate.
Joey has spent 3 years in prison. But he has one advantage over many inmates. He has a place to stay in New Orleans with his father, who's waiting at the front gate with Joey's wife.
All right, let me out. Hi, Dad.
My baby.
Sorry, you're gonna make me cry.
It's been a long time.
I know.
So life starts over.
Yeah.
Early the next morning, Joey checks in with his parole office.
You understand that you're subject to visits by your parole agent?
Then a job coordinator from Louisiana CPR takes Joey to the state's one-stop job center.
What I'd like to find out is the address you're staying at and the phone number.
The job search is one of the most difficult parts of the reentry process. Researchers have found up to 2/3 of ex-offenders have not found regular jobs a year after their release.
I'll make contact with the employers first.
Fortunately, Joey had some training before his life was derailed by drugs.
Technically, I'm a computer support specialist.
I'm sure we'll be able to find something soon. It shouldn't take too long.
For ex-offenders, Hurricane Katrina has changed everything. Housing is now a critical problem, but jobs are easier to find.
It's giving people a chance to be competitive for jobs where employers at first wouldn't give them a second glance. Literally, you could walk out of the door and trip on a job. That's how tight the market is.
Joey says he wants to start work right away.
Oh, it's going to be a little difficult. Things seems to be going pretty smooth.
But many jobs, such as elder care and financial services, are often closed by law to ex-offenders. And there are other barriers. Employers are often simply afraid. And even well-intentioned programs to enforce child support can have unintended consequences, says economist Harry Holzer.
So maybe they get hired for a $6 or $7 an hour job, usually with almost no benefits. That might be okay, except a lot of these men have child support orders. Usually while they were in prison, they go into debt, or we call that arrears in the child support system. When that happens, the state can garnish up to 2/3 of their wages. So in other words, $4 on a $6 an hour job would immediately go to the state, and they're left with very small incentives to keep working for $2 an hour.
But Joey is doing better. A week later, he's landed a job as a longshoreman making $10 an hour. His career in computers will have to wait for now. But UC Long says patience can be the key to success.
This is what each inmate has to check within himself. What is my priority? What do I really want for myself? Where do I want to be, not 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now? What do I want to be 2 years from now?
Joey knows he wants to be there for his son, now 2 years old, who was born while his father was in prison. Freddie Garcia's day begins just after 7 with a 40-minute ride through the San Francisco Bay Area suburb of San Mateo. Freddie's a freshman at Hillsdale High School, and that is an accomplishment. At his old school, he was pegged for a gang member, was often in trouble, sent to the office and told to pick up trash.
So I called myself like a janitor. So yeah, really didn't think about future. I didn't think about going to college.
Most American high schools aren't designed to catch a student like Freddie and keep him on track to graduation. He came into Hillsdale High School a CND student. Early on, he was caught selling drugs. Yvonne Hsu is Hillsdale High School's lead principal.
I think here, with the structure that we have and having an advisor that recognized the potential in him and is nurturing that, has been instrumental in his turnaround and his outlook on school.
Who's going to report from over here?
Now Freddie has a 3.7 GPA.
What changed was that my mom told me, my uncle told me, high school is what matters, and it's right there where your decision says, are you going to have a future or not? So I decided to have one.
At a traditional high school, teachers may have 7 periods and see 150 students a day. Hillsdale is broken up into what educators call small learning communities. 3 houses with 300 kids each. Classes are longer. Teachers spend the first 2 years with the same students. There's an advisory period to build up study skills. and allow time to discuss academic and personal issues. Kids here are known. Now, I bet a lot of teenagers kind of like to hide in high school. Can they hide in a small learning community?
No. One of the things that happens is, at first, I think there's a lot of reluctance for students to have an advisor, just because the advisor gets to know them very well. And for teenagers, it gets, they don't like people knowing their business.
Stanford education professor Linda Darling-Hammond is one of the nation's leading experts on high school reform. She says small learning communities are a big change from the high schools most of us remember.
The factory model high school, as we now call it, was designed in about 1910 or 1920. The idea of that comprehensive high school was to cream off about 5% of the kids for specialized knowledge work. The notion of these schools was they were to select and sort kids, decide who was going to go where in the economy. Most of the work was not going to be thinking work, and we were going to crank them out on this assembly line process.
Who would be talking about responsibility to society?
The curriculum is also different. Hillsdale focuses on project-based learning, helping students build up their expert thinking skills. Juniors like Monica Castaneda spend months researching the causes for a major problem confronting American society. Then they look for solutions.
The projects just teach you how to think in a deeper sense. They teach you how to think about not just what's going on in your normal life, but bigger, like what the government's doing. When you start doing projects like this, you think, if this isn't being solved, what can I do to solve it in the future?
Working in groups, researching problems, exploring solutions, presenting results. Project-based learning is preparation for the knowledge economy. Unfortunately, it's relatively rare.
You can get all the way through high school in this country and never have written an intensive research paper, never have had to go out and find and access resources and materials and solve problems and learn how to do difficult work with other people in a way that mirrors what you would do in the workplace and what you would do in college.
The economic stakes in school reform are high. Decades ago, experts had predicted that by now, 75% of high school graduates would go on to college. Instead, our nation's high schools send just 60% of graduates to 2- or 4-year institutions, and just 40% make it through. As a result, the economy is not getting the supply of young, educated workers it needs. UC Berkeley economist David Card estimates a college graduate now earns 40% more than a high school graduate. That's twice as much as 25 years ago.
It is a bit of a puzzle why more people don't take that fully into account in planning their careers and think, if I can somehow get myself through college, I will probably be in much better shape.
At Hillsdale High School, you can see another change ahead for the American economy. Minorities are the majority in California schools and will soon make up a larger share of the workforce. But minorities have historically lagged behind in getting a college education.
So on average, this may be the first generation that on average does not outpace their parents in terms of their ability to move through the society and take across the board better jobs at better pay with, a better lifestyle at the other end.
Which is why it will be crucial for our nation's schools to turn out more students like Freddie Garcia. He now wants to challenge the odds and become the first person in his family to go to college.
Right now, we're not living good. We don't have sometimes enough money for food, so I want to get an education and try to help my mom out for all the things she's done for me.
Other nations are pouring greater resources into their high schools and outpacing our own graduation rates. To keep up, our society will need more success stories, many more.
We've got to prepare all of our young people to come out prepared for post-secondary education, ready to solve problems, be flexible in their thinking, encounter technologies, manage information. They've got to be able to do that in ways that are very fast-paced, fluid, and flexible. And to do that, we've got to reinvent our institutions.
It's easy to see here at Hillsdale High how the American workforce is about to change. It will soon be up to students coming out of schools like this to maintain our economic leadership in the world. that success is not guaranteed. It will require hard work and constant innovation, which is why the American workplace must always be a work in progress. I'm Darren Gersh. Thanks for watching. For all of us at Nightly Business Report, good night.
To learn more about the stories in tonight's broadcast, go to Nightly Business Report on pbs.org. Nightly Business Report is made possible by
Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a unique perspective through the specialized investment expertise of Franklin Templeton Mutual Series and Fiduciary Trust. Franklin Templeton Investments, gain from our perspective.
And by A.G. Edwards.
Additional funding provided by the National Association of Realtors.
Nightly Business Report is made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Stay with OPB. The News Hour with Jim Lehrer is next.
You may order a home video copy of tonight's special edition of Nightly Business Report by calling 1-800-535-5864. Please specify the DVD or VHS format.
We are PBS.
Funding for local broadcast of Nightly Business Report has been provided by viewers like you and by the following.
Union Bank of California, providing personal and business banking services, trust, and investment management to the Pacific Northwest since 1882.
I'm Mark Wahlberg with a brand new episode of Antiques Roadshow.
My parents were bowling, and in the lane next to them was Babe Ruth and his wife.
You gotta be kidding me. I'm not. Don't miss our special Fame and Fortune episode on Antiques Roadshow.
Join us tonight at 8 here on OPB.
In 1932, an army of impoverished World War I veterans marched on Washington to demand a bonus they were promised for their service. But Congress refused to pay.